Welcome to the Commander's Compass, a series where we decode timeless wisdom from legendary leaders. One such leader is Ratan Tata, who was more than a business icon. He is a rare blend of humility, courage, and purpose driven leadership. In a world chasing numbers, he reminds us that true success lies in the lives we touch and the values we live. In this video, we explore his journey, the decisions he made, the empathy he carried, and the convictions that shaped one of India's most respected legacies. You know, whenever we talk about leadership, we often imagine someone walking into a corner office, wearing a suit, giving instructions. But the story of Sri Ratan Tata starts in a completely different place. It's the year 1962. A 25-year-old Ratan Tata has just returned from Cornell University after studying architecture and structural engineering. Most people expected him to walk straight into an executive role in the Tata Group. After all, he belonged to the Tata family. But instead, he was on the shop floor of Tata Steel in Jamshedpur. He stood next to the furnace workers, shoveling limestone, handling hot steel, learning how blast furnaces operate. Old-timers from the plant still recall how surprised they were when this quiet young man walked in wearing a simple helmet and said, "I'm here to learn." For months, he worked 3 shifts, including night shifts. He stayed in the company's quarters in Jamshedpur, ate with the workers, and listened to their stories. He learned not just the technicalities of steel making, but the dignity of labor, the rhythm of teamwork, the unwritten values of Tata Steel that J.R.D. Tata himself had nurtured. Years later, Ratan Tata said something beautiful. "Those days on the shop floor taught me what no classroom ever could." And this became the foundation of his leadership. When he finally became chairman in 1991, he already understood the soul of the Tata workforce. Not from reports, not from presentations, but from real people, real stories, real sweat. That's why employees trusted him. Because before he led them, he walked with them. If you are an aspiring leader, this one lesson from 1962 can change everything. Respect is not demanded. It is earned. One connection at a time. Let me take you back to 1971. Ratan Tata is 34 years old, not yet a chairman, not yet the global visionary we knew today. At this point, he is handed a company that everyone else had quietly written off. Nelco, the National Radio and Electronics Company. Nelco was losing money, drowning in debt, and struggling with morale. Anyone else would have politely declined, but Ratan Tata stepped in, studied the operations, and rebuilt the company from scratch. By 1975, under his watch, Nelco rose from 2% market share to nearly 20%. It finally turned profitable. And then disaster struck. The emergency years hit consumer demand. Labor strikes affected production. Government licensing policies slowed expansion, and Nelco crashed again. And this time, it was irreversible. But here's the part that tells you who Ratan Tata is. He didn't blame anyone. He didn't hide behind excuses. He treated failure as a classroom. A few years later, in 1977, he tried again, this time with Empress Mills, a once iconic textile brand founded in 1877. Ratan Tata proposed a revival plan. He asked for 50 lakhs investment, probably a tiny amount for the Tata Group even then. The committee turned it down, and by 1986, Empress Mills shut down permanently. Now, these two setbacks may have crushed anyone. But Ratan Tata later said in his autobiography project, "These failures shaped me far more than my successes ever did." This resilience would later help him make bold decisions, acquiring Tetley, Chorus, and Jaguar Land Rover. So here's the leadership truth. If you handle failure with dignity, you earn the strength for greatness. It's 1991. India has just opened up its economy. Liberalization has begun. Markets are changing faster than anyone predicted. And at this exact turning point, a 54-year-old Ratan Tata becomes chairman of the Tata Group, succeeding the legendary J.R.D. Tata. Now here's what most people may not know. The Tata Group at that time wasn't a unified organization. It was a federation of more than 80 companies, each run like its own kingdom. Many senior leaders were far older than Ratan Tata. Some have been in their posts for more than 30 years. They resisted change, and strongly. But Ratan Tata had a vision. One Tata, one identity, one unified future. His first move was bold. He introduced a retirement age, 65 for executives and 75 for directors. This had never existed before. Many of the powerful leaders had to step down. People said he was too young, too idealistic, too aggressive. A change of guard, a power struggle ensued. But Ratan Tata stayed firm. Then he changed the brand architecture. Earlier you had Tata Tea, Tata Steel, Tata Chemicals, and all these other companies operated independently. He brought them under one shared identity, the Tata brand. He pushed global expansion. In 2000, Tata Tea acquired Tetley, a British company 4 times its size. In 2007, Tata Steel acquired Chorus. In 2008, Tata Motors acquired Jaguar Land Rover. Each of these moves refined Indian corporate ambition. When he took over in 1991, group revenues were roughly around $6 billion. By the time he stepped down in 2012, they were over $100 billion. You listen, you cannot build a future with yesterday's comforts. Great leadership demands courage and consistency. It's 26th of November 2008. Mumbai is under attack. The Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, the iconic symbol of the Tata Group, is engulfed in fire, smoke and gunfire. Staff members are risking their lives to save guests, and some unfortunately lose their lives in the process. And where is Ratan Tata? Standing right outside the hotel gates at 5 a.m., talking to employees, consoling families and helping coordinate support. No media cameras, no speeches, just presence. Over the next few days, he personally visited every injured employee, whether they were in Mumbai, Pune, or even distant towns. He met families of more than 80 affected staff members. Many recall how he sat with them quietly, holding their hands, sometimes without saying a word. Then came one of the most unprecedented decisions in corporate history. Every employee affected by the attacks, including the families of those who died, would receive full salary until retirement. Medical expenses and psychological counseling were fully covered. Education support was provided for children. Temporary housing was arranged. The leadership world had never seen anything like this before. Later, a Taj staff member said, "We rebuilt the hotel not because we had to, but because Ratan Tata stood by us." And that's the heart of his leadership style. When tragedy strikes, show up. Not as a boss, as a human being. It's now 1998. Ratan Tata has a dream. India's first fully indigenous car. A car designed, engineered, and built in India. It was called the Tata Indica. The launch was grand. The Auto Expo crowds went wild. Bookings poured in. Within months, reality hit. Reviews were harsh. Sales slowed down. Competitors mocked the idea of an Indian company building a world-class car. Never done before. Reporters even wrote that Tatas should stuck to trucks. But Ratan Tata refused to give up. He gathered his engineering team, got them together, a talented R&D squad from Pune, and said, "We will not retreat. We will make this car right." They spent months refining the engine, redesigning interiors, strengthening the suspension, and improving mileage. In 2003, the Indica V2 was launched. This time, it became a bestseller. The success of Indica built the foundation for something bigger. The acquisition of Jaguar Land Rover in 2008. Ratan Tata later said, one of his most famous lines, "I don't believe in taking the right decisions. I take decisions and then strive to make them right." Guys, that's a masterclass in leadership, courage, adaptability, and persistence. Let's talk about one of the most underrated leadership qualities Ratan Tata demonstrated consistently. The courage to say no, even when the whole world expected a yes. One iconic example that comes from many time, the leading global automotive executive told Ratan Tata almost dismissively, "The Indian automobile industry has no future." And this was after Tata Motors launched the Tata Indica in December 1998. India's first fully indigenous passenger car. Sales were slow. Media criticism was harsh. Internally, even Tata insiders suggested shutting it down. But instead of accepting defeat, Ratan Tata said something that has now become a part of corporate folklore. A setback is not a failure. He refused to sell Indica, refused to exit the passenger car dream, and refused to let India's engineering ambition die. He said no again in 2006 when many advised him not to acquire Jaguar Land Rover, calling it a dying British brand. Banks cautioned him, analysts warned him, but Ratan Tata believed in the engineering at JLR, who said, "We haven't been allowed to build the cars we know we can." And in 2008, Ratan Tata acquired JLR. Within 5 years, JLR became the crown jewel of Tata Motors, contributing nearly 90% of its profits. Leadership isn't only about the bold yeses. It's about disciplined no's. It's about knowing when to protect your conviction, your mission, your people. Here's one leadership habit of Ratan Tata that every aspiring leader should copy. He never led from his corner office. He led from the factory floor. Let me take you back to Telco's Pimpri plant in Pune. Late 1970s, employees still talk about how Ratan Tata, then a young deputy chairman, would walk into the welding section at 7:15 in the morning, even before many supervisors arrived. He would stand next to the technicians, ask about the machines, observe their safety issues, and even sketch improvements on paper. One welder from that era said, "He didn't talk like a chairman, he talked like an engineer." Instead of holding formal reviews in Bombay House, Ratan Tata flew to Jamshedpur, went right into the workers' canteen, sat beside the employees during lunch, and listened to the actual problems. From helmets that were uncomfortable to safety boots that caused blisters. Now, these may have seemed minor, but they were affecting morale. Within 2 months, safety gear was upgraded, absenteeism dropped, productivity rose. And then came 26th of November 2008, the night of the Mumbai attacks. Before any politician reached the site, Ratan Tata personally stood outside the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, speaking to employees, consoling families, and even visiting injured staff in hospitals the very next morning. One employee said, he even remembered my name at a time when I couldn't even remember myself. This is the essence of walking the floor. It's not about a business habit. It's a human habit. When leaders walk with their people, people walk with the leader, through storms, setbacks, and triumphs. Here's a leadership rule Ratan Tata followed throughout his career. Never humiliate anyone. Ever. Even when they were wrong. Let me take you back to 1981, when Ratan Tata took charge of a struggling Nelco division. Apparently, in one board meeting, a senior executive publicly blamed a young engineer for a production delay. Everyone expected Ratan Tata to lash out. Nelco was, after all, losing money and pressure was massive. Instead, Tata paused, looked at the board, and said softly, "We don't point fingers in this room. We solve problems." He later met the engineer privately, understood the issue, and fixed the process, not the person. That engineer stayed with Tatas for 28 more years. Another example, Tata Motors. 1998. During the early Indica failures, a senior designer broke down while presenting flawed design data. Instead of rebuking him, Tata walked up, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "You did your best. Now let's do better together." And that designer eventually led the interior design for the successful Indica V2. Even during the JLR acquisition meetings in 2007, when Ford executives had humiliated Tatas earlier, he showed no bitterness. A Ford board member later said, "We expected anger. What we got was dignity." This principle shaped the Tata culture. People never feared humiliation. They feared disappointing a leader who respected them. That's real leadership. The kind that builds loyalty you cannot buy. Most people know Ratan Tata as a business icon. What they don't know is that he is one of India's most influential startup mentors. Let's go back to 2014, when Vijay Shekhar Sharma, founder of Paytm, walked into Bombay House for a meeting. As was normally expected, Vijay was nervous. Paytm was burning cash and investors were skeptical. Ratan Tata apparently listened quietly for 15 minutes, then asked two questions. Do you believe in what you are building? And will it help the ordinary Indians? Within days, Tata personally invested an undisclosed amount. Probably a symbolic check, but massive validation. Vijay Sharman still says the day Ratan Tata invested, India trusted us. Then came Ola, currently anti-travel. But in 2015, Bhavish Agarwal pitched his vision for Indian mobility. When many investors doubted the model, Tata told him, if it solves a real problem, stick with it. Tata later visited Ola's office in Bengaluru unannounced, sat with the engineering team and said, keep building. And who found this most surprising? Piyush Bansal of Lenskart. Tata asked about eyewear accessibility for rural India. He wasn't investing in companies. He was investing in missions. Some succeed, some fail, for whatever reasons. Of course, that, like you said, recent Lenkat IPO have been at the receiving end. There's a lot of flack. Piyush Bansal is facing a lot of flack, but that is a story and lesson for another day. Ratan Tata's philosophy was simple. Back the founder, not just the numbers. Support them emotionally, not just financially. Encourage them during the dips, not just IPOs. Many founders say, this one sentence changed my entire mindset. That's the power of a mentor. Someone who sees your future before you see it yourself. Did you know that the Tata Group actually went through a near collapse between 2000 and 2003? It was Ratan Tata who pulled off one of India's greatest corporate turnarounds. In 2000, the Tata Group had over 240 companies, many bleeding cash. Analysts openly called Tata's a slow, old-fashioned giant. Market cap was stagnant. International media and conglomerates called it dinosaurs. But Ratan Tata wasn't shaken. He started with a bold step in 2001, shutting down 25 non-performing companies and merging dozens of them. This was unheard of in a legacy Indian business house. Then came the Tata Steel cost reduction drive. He pushed for what is called as the Aspire program, saving nearly 600 crores by 2003. Tata Motors launched the Indica V2, which turned profitable in 2002. Titan ramped up its watch division. TCS went global with aggressive service expansion. In the middle of all the storm, Ratan Tata introduced the Tata brand unification, making all companies use the Tata logo. People mocked it. Today, it's one of India's strongest brand identity. By 2003, the market cap had jumped from roughly about 26,000 crores to 70,000 crores, a 170% surge. The world suddenly called Tata a global emerging powerhouse. The secret? Long-term clarity, ruthless focus, emotional strength, and the courage to take tough decisions. Turnarounds aren't just about numbers. They're about leaders who refuse to quit. When most CEOs think in quarters, Ratan Tata taught in decades. When he took over as the chairman in 1991, India had just liberalized. Everyone said Indian companies should play safe. Instead, Ratan Tata planned a 20-year transformation. His brief and belief was simple. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, build for a long term. Think about TCS. In 1996, IT wasn't that glamorous. Infosys and Wipro were still rising stars. But Tata invested heavily in capacity building, training, and global offices. People questioned it. Today, TCS is among India's most valuable IT companies. Then came Titan, another iconic brand of the other Tatas. Launched in 1984, but strengthened aggressively under Tata in the late 90s. Titan, till 2003, was a loss-making company. By 2010, it was an Indian lifestyle giant because Tata insisted on long-term brand building. Even Tata Motors' acquisition of JLR in 2008 was a long-term vision. Critics called it reckless, but Tata told his team, this is not about today. This is about what we can create over years. And he was right. JLR, which was loss-making, became profitable by 2013, contributing massively to the Tata Motors turnover. Long-term thinking requires three things: patience, when others panic, vision when others doubt, and discipline when others chase shortcuts. And that's what made Ratan Tata the leader he is. Leadership is not just about vision, it's also about navigating politics, betrayals, and silence. Ratan Tata faced all of this, especially around 2012, when internal disagreement shook the Tata Group. But here's what remarkable. He never fought dirty. He never attacked anyone publicly. He always protected the institution. When he retired in December 2012, many expected him to expose critics or respond to years of boardroom resistance and the boardroom politics. He didn't. He said, "The Tata Group is bigger than all of us." Even earlier in 1991, when he became chairman, several senior leaders resigned in protest. They referred to the old style of functioning. Ratan Tata didn't retaliate. He stayed silent, reorganized the group, and let performance speak. By 1998, even the critics admitted that his leadership had unified the Tata identity. The most famous example, during the JLR acquisition, Ford had once humiliated Tata in a 1999 meeting in Detroit. But in 2008, within about 9 years, when Ford was collapsing, the same executives came to Tata for help. Ratan Tata didn't mention the past. He calmly acquired JLR, shook hands respectively. That's grace. Leadership is not about winning arguments. It's about winning respect quietly. Politics will always exist. That is a given. It's your response that defines your legacy. If this added value to you, like, share, and subscribe for more leadership insights inspired by many other legends.